Freaking idiot, dragging me out on a night like this. Might as well get this show on the road, though. Can't believe they want a 10-inch Voodoo doll to go be a hero. And some other perfectly good...
The dust beds have good mojo. Every 100 expands your health meter. Action pads like this one allow you to do special things. Some action pads require a special item to work properly.
I'm a lightweight. We have some lovely parting gifts. I'm okay.
Have faith in your strength, Vince. Pressing Y can make you lift some objects. Well done. Press Y again to drop whatever you carry.
Did it.
Still with us, little doll? Most impressive. But you'll never make it past the piggy bank of doom.
Talking his dad, though. I'm a dog, I should have definitely expected that.
We have some lovely parting gifts.
These hearts will bring you back if you should perish. Each heart gives you an extra life.
recycling really
what's
works.
Up, oh, pretty good, big dog. Just trying these Voodoo vents out for the first time. Oh, damn. You just done that? Yeah.
Voodoo dolls cannot swim. Avoid deep water.
Okay, maybe I can't double jump on hold now. Yeah, I'm gonna say, obviously I can't double jump at all right now. Or maybe I can't wait as long as I do it. Yeah, I can't wait that long. I lost 2 lives to get 1. No! You one-shot me. I couldn't. I didn't have enough. What's it called? Need more beats. Oh! I wonder do I have to put this on that thing over I don't think he takes part. Please, no. That one might take 3 hits. I think alright, now I gotta figure out what to do with this. Can't swing it. Okay.
There must be something noisy around here.
That's when I press X. That's him doing it. I'm so lost. What do I do? Check this way.
This game came out on Game Pass.
Recently. Yeah, this was a recent Game Pass.
I ain't never heard of it.
I've heard of it. I just never. Yeah, this is getting a little savage. Or maybe, okay. What if I gotta go all the way up and go across? That's the only spot I have it in. And you can't do it with this. Hey, I actually had that game downloaded too. And I actually never played that game either. I mean, 1 second. You said something about, oh, yep. I just downloaded it last night.
I did too. It just got on a
Games with Gold, yep. Okay, so I need to find a power up. That's the only thing I'm missing here. Oh, I don't want to leave.
This must be the laziest monster ever. First thing I gotta do is wake him up if I want to get past.
Oh!
What, no
wow,
cash?
I'm supposed to be right here.
Some piggy bank.
Why did they want me to get smashed like that? I just wasted that. My soul is hurt. I just wasted my power. This camera is so like it definitely is an old school. Because even when I'm turning it like that, it's just auto-correcting itself. Yeah. And you got the button. Can you walk and do that? Ooh, gee.
These gates must fall if your quest is to continue. 2 surly gas pumps rule this intersection. Be careful. They will do their best to stop you.
That's a rocket stuck in the wall.
You little runt. Eat ranch, shorty.
Oh, the gas pump is talking.
Hey, think your mama calling for that boy.
of gas.
How about... Get lost, you little runt. Yes, that's too bad. Eat rats, shorty. Hey, your mama calling, burlap boy. How about a lion? This is all street, pipsqueak. That's too bad.
I've got to get some gas. Holy fiesta of torture! Yum. Sound. Tastes like a trout biscuit. Is it hot in here, or is it just me? You'd think a guy made out of cloth could stay lit.
It
couldn't happen to two nicer guys.
butt, Whip.
I'm missing 6.
I'm gonna kick your butt, Whip. Just wait till I get back on my feet.
Oh, I just got it.
You're not so tough. I rule.
I'm sorry? Speak up, I can't hear you.
I'm missing 6.
These are skull pages. Get all the pages in an area, and you will benefit greatly.
Oh, it's 15 of them. How did I not find those the first time? That stream.
That jazz man holds the key to this large square, but he will require something from you.
Nice, horsey. I didn't know statues could eat apples. Open from noon to 3 p.m. 2 kung fu movies for the price of 3. Excuse me, pal. I'm looking for someone. Tall lady, magical type, tied up. Have you seen her?
Museum's got many answers. Might have yours. Who knows? Let you in for a song.
A song? Isn't this a science museum?
Hey, this is the Big Easy. Come on. I just want somebody to jam with.
There's the hole.
The Grim Reaper says hi. Hey, recycling really works. I wonder what the view is like from that clock tower.
Excellent. Giving older pages makes a power skull appear. Use the action pad to make it fly.
Well, the horse kicked me on top of the car today.
Whoa, tough room. Whoa, tough room.
How many left?
That didn't work. Costume Ball, 5 to 8 p.m. Cash prizes. Costume required. freshly minted fake money.
Now I gotta take the fake money. Throwing bombs at me. I just picked that up.
There's 2 hours I'll never get back. Hey, watch the material!
I'm not stopping the stream, but I will be back. All my children are up, so I can go home. ready to actually play. So yeah, she's gonna take over now. I'm about to step outside real quick. Come back and watch carry. So far, I'm going to be good.
Watch the material. Pawn shop, open from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. These guys get up pretty early. Pawn shop, open from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. These guys get up pretty early.
Granny hits harder.
Nice to be back. Watch the material. That didn't work. Open from noon to 3 p.m. 2 kung fu movies for the price of 3. Looks like they want something I don't have. Open from noon to 3 p.m. 2 kung fu movies for the price of 3. Costume Ball, 5 to 8 p.m. Cash prizes. Costume required. We could have been friends. Freshly minted fake money. They were certainly friendly. Minted fake money. This ought to be good for something.
That's why they kept putting this out.
You got a horn, Tiny? Come on and play with me. Man, good thing I don't have a nose, 'cause you stink.
I just got
Like, let's shake it, Daddy-O.
Yeah, that was nice. Warms my heart, wherever it is. The boss will see you now, but watch your step. He's in a bad mood today.
Boss?
press start. Oh, it's right there. And just that quick, CC just quit. Alright, folks.